Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is JJ and I am a writer, a reader, and a general book enthusiast. I want to talk to you. I can definitely talk today. Wowza. I wanted to talk to you about this book. If you've been in the suspense scene recently, you have seen this book. I don't feel like anybody, I was influenced to read this book. I've seen it everywhere. Mystery, suspense. I'm thoroughly enjoying this book. I'm only about halfway through, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson. First, I will just read you the back cover copy so that you know a little bit more about what this book is before you go into it, in case you're curious. And then I'm just going to stop and say, if you like mystery, you like murder, you like breaking the fourth wall, if you're a writer who likes reading books about writers, you gotta read this book, okay? The main character is a writer, and so he's talking with all of this writer humor and author humor, and it is one of the best things I think I have ever experienced in book form. So before I tell you anything else about the book, if you like those things, go put this book on hold at the library or go buy it. Either way, I'll put a link down below where you can buy it. If you buy from that link, I will get a little bit of help financially, which would be fantastic and much appreciated. I would be very much obliged. But also, I got mine from the library, so you do what you gotta do, babe. You do what you gotta do. All right, shall we? Everyone in my family has killed someone. Some of us, the high achievers, have killed more than once. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but it is the truth. Some of us are good, others are bad, and some just unfortunate. Have I killed someone? Yes, I have. Who was it? Let's get started. Everyone in my family has killed someone. My brother, my stepsister, my wife, my father, my mother, my sister-in-law, my uncle, my stepfather, my aunt, me. It is, okay, first of all, I was assuming that this would be some sort of like serial killer book, like family of killers getting away with crime. And while it's not exactly that, it also sort of is, okay? So like, it's not serial killers. That's the part that's really not exactly, right? It is a normal family of people who happen to have really bad luck. For the most part. I mean, like I said, I'm only halfway through. So if you've read this book and you know that I'm wrong, don't tell me yet. I want to read it and finish it first. So let me live in my delusions. But this book follows a guy named Ernest, which is one of the... it's so good. This is where the humor begins, right? His name is Ernest, and the first thing that he tells you as a reader is that he promises to tell you the truth as to the best of his ability, in that he remembers the events that unfold. So that's number one. We already have probably an unreliable narrator. I mean, he's promising to tell us the truth because he doesn't want to be an unreliable narrator, but everyone's mind is to an extent unreliable, right? And so you have this narrator who's calling himself Ernest, who may or may not be Ernest, which is just fun. That's a fun dynamic. Second thing that I want to point out that he does in this book is first things first, we have some really interesting opening things. And if you don't read books cover to cover, this is me telling you, you should go read books cover to cover, because sometimes, like this, it adds so much to the experience of the novel. It's not even like giving you information about the story. It's just like making the book itself a full cover to cover experience, right? So we start with a quote. Do you promise that your detectives shall well and truly detect the crimes presented to them using those wits which it may please you to bestow upon them, and not placing reliance on, nor making use of, divine revelation, feminine intuition, mumbo-jumbo, jiggery-pokery, coincidence, or act of God? Membership Oath of the Detection Club, 1930, a secret society of mystery writers including Agatha Christie, G.K. Chesterton, Ronald Knox, and Dorothy L. Sayers. If you've been around the mystery world long enough, you know most, if not all, of those names. Those are some of the most well-known and well-loved mystery writers in the history of the genre, okay? Wow, I am really passionate today. Let's continue, shall we? The next thing, I just gotta show you this because I love the designers for this, okay? They took the time to print this book with bleed so that they could show and have a dog ear place, a place to dog ear in the book. That tells me that this is probably important to the author, right? These are Ronald Knox's 10 Commandments of Detective Fiction from 1929. They start with things such as the criminal must be someone mentioned in the early part of the story, but not be anyone whose thoughts the reader has been allowed to follow. All of these are available online. I mean, these are well-known things, right? But we're going to keep going. All supernatural or preternatural agencies are ruled out as a matter of course. Not more than one secret room or passage is allowable. No hitherto undiscovered poisons may be used, nor any appliance which will need a long scientific explanation at the end. Author's note. Culturally outdated historical wording redacted. Number 6. No accident must ever help the detective, nor must he ever have an unaccountable intuition which proves to be right. Number 7. The detective must not himself commit the crime. Number 8. The detective must not light on any clues which are not instantly produced for the inspection of the reader. Number 9. The stupid friend of the detective, the Watson, must not conceal any thoughts which pass through his mind. His intelligence must be slightly, but very slightly, below that of the average reader. And number 10. Twin brothers and doubles, generally, must not appear unless we have been duly prepared for them. Okay? So these are the rules of how to write mystery books that people have followed for a very, very long time. One of the other rules not usually mentioned in these sorts of sets, because it's probably a more recent rule, is the rule that your killer must be an amateur. A pro gets away with it, which is why I write about professionals. Anyway. Moving on into the prologue, right? Because you must always read your prologues. It is the beginning of the book. It is part of the book. There's a reason it's a prologue and not a chapter 1, but it is part of the book. Please read your prologues. Please read your epilogues. They are there for a reason. They are part of the story. A preface or a foreword, those are notes from the author or somebody writing about the author. You can read those if you want to. But a prologue is part of the story. These are important wording choices, okay? And I'm really passionate about this because I've seen so many people online recently who have not been reading prologues, and they miss so much, such as in this book when he says, if you're just here for the gory details, deaths in this book either happen or are reported to have happened on page 14, page 46, page 65, a twofer on page 75, and a hat trick on page 81. And he goes on to list every single death in the book, which is important in this book because then as you get to, let's say, page 14, he talks directly to the reader. And he says, Michael had been there a long time now. Something was wrong. We are on page 14. If you didn't read the prologue, that would be really weird. It would totally mess up everything about your experience with the book, right? So, first of all, we have brilliant composition of how books work and the revelation of information according to the layout of the book itself, right? Most impressively is the fact that in this printed edition, and I really want to know if they've changed the printing layout in any other editions or if this is the only one that's allowed, if they've changed the numbers. Because depending on how the book is laid out, that will change the page numbers accordingly. And if you have all of those deaths listed out, how are you going to mark those, right? And so the fact that he has something was wrong, we're on page 14, and you look up in the corner and it is actually page 14. Props to the editors and the typesetters and the producers of this book at the publishing house, which happens to be Mariner. Mariner? Yes, Mariner books. I am so impressed by the fact that they pulled that off throughout the entire book. Okay? Okay. Secondly, we have such incredible moments where we start diving into the character's family. It's fun. It's great. Eventually you get to a character, and I'm not going to say that I'm not going to say who, because you got to go read this book and you got to find out for yourself. But we have the character, chapter, whatever, and then it says, I don't want to talk about it. And that's the whole chapter. We move on. We're in the next section. It's so good, okay? The way that this book strings you along and pulls you through on this journey, whether or not you are there for it, or like you pick it up and you are transported. I don't care what you think a book should be. You are in the mind of this writer, for better or worse, and that is so fun. It's so fun. This might be my favorite book of this year. I am thoroughly enjoying this book. Next up, we have, which was hilarious for me because this was right after I had taken a slight break from reading, just because I had been busy and going on work trips and stuff like that. But he has chapter 14, and then you flip through, and then suddenly you get chapter 14.5. I would love to have been in the room where this book happened, okay? To sit around for the conversations that occurred in the production process of, hey, can we let him do this? Like, can we actually let him have a chapter 14.5? Like, will that mess up the e-reader things? Will it mess up will it mess up the production of everything? And the answer turns out, no. It's just a little bit wonky, but it's quirky and fun, and the whole book is quirky and fun. And you know, like, listen, okay, so a locked room mystery, right? A locked room mystery occurs when somebody in the room had to be the murderer. The problem is it could be anybody. So if you're looking at like Knives Out or Glass Onion, the Glass Onion that just came out recently-ish, like a year ago. I don't know. That came out. You know, if you're looking at those mysteries where there is a set list of suspects, it is one of the people in this room, in this house, right? Like it's one of those people. You know, one of them had to do it. And usually what happens is that every single one of those people had motive, right? Because that's what happens. Everybody except for the detective. So you know, the only person you know you can trust is the detective, okay? And in a locked room mystery, everyone was there and nobody saw a thing. Or everyone is keeping their secrets for their own reasons, which is super cool and super fun and very much a little bit tricky. So that's important to keep in mind. This book, they are upfront with you from the very beginning, from the cover and the title. Every single person in Ernest's family is a killer. They have killed someone in the past. Which means that when a body shows up at their family reunion, there's a good probability one of them did it. And now the question is, which one did it? Is it the mom? Is it the brother who just got out of prison and has no alibi? Is it the wife or the other wife? And all of the family drama that comes when husbands steal each other's wives? And how complicated that gets? Is it the people who married into the family and who have still killed people, by the way? Or is it somebody else entirely at this resort that they're having their family reunion at? And this is the drama of the book. And so far, I have been thoroughly enjoying being taken along for the ride. There are some mysteries, and this happens when you're a writer. I'm sure if you're a writer, you know this, or if you know any writers, you know this. The more you study stories, the more you start to really know what's about to happen before it happens, right? Like, watching a movie with me is one of the most infuriating things that most people can do, because I'll call the ending really quickly. Or I'll say, oh, that's going to be important later in like 5 minutes. And then sure enough, there it is. And it's a detail that people didn't notice earlier, but I was like, that's foreshadowing. This is why, side note real quick, this is why I loved the movie Bullet Train so much. That movie is, I'm going to do an entire chat about that movie actually, but that movie is a study in foreshadowing like nothing I have ever seen before in my entire life. It is beautifully accomplished. Tabling that for another video apparently, because this one is about everyone in my family has killed someone. Okay, here's the thing about foreshadowing, right? So like, you know, as you're reading this book, Ernest is going through and he's telling you different things that have happened, right, in people's lives, in the history of this family, and starting to unravel the mystery that is how they're all interacting with each other and what it means for them as a family to be interacting with each other and to be stuck in who to trust, and like, what is his brother doing now? Because his brother went to prison for murdering someone. Yep. And the family reunion that has them snowed in on a mountain is because it was supposed to be his first time out of prison in multiple years. But there's a lot of family drama because Ernest helped put him there. So, if you want to help me figure out, like, okay. There are some mysteries that you try to solve along with the narrator, right? Like, you are with the detective, you're like, I'm calling it, it's that one. I knew it. I know it's you. You are the killer, right? Like, there's some murders, and like, that's how you engage with the medium of a murder mystery, right? Is trying to figure out who the killer was prior to the end of the book. You're trying to solve it before the detective can. And if a writer has done their job, they will reveal it to you just slightly before the character states it, which means that you always feel like you knew who it was, but not until the very last moment. Okay? That is the beauty and the art of writing a good mystery novel. And the fact that me, having studied stories, having been an editor for mystery novels, and having been studying how to write and tell suspenseful mystery stories for the last 5 years, the fact that I can just be swept away and taken on the journey, and I can willingly pull the wool over my own eyes and say, yep, Ernest, tell me the tale of how everybody in your family has killed someone, and I'm just going to trust you until I can't. Right? The fact that he can get me to do that, good job, Benjamin Stevenson. That is brilliant writing right there, and I am so impressed. I am so freaking impressed. Anyway, you should go read this book. If any of the things that I talked about speak to you, you should do that. I also will say that as far as I know, and again, take this however you want. I'm only about halfway through. If you want to see my full review of this when I finish the book, make sure you follow me on Goodreads and BookBub, because I'll be posting my reviews there. There's links down below. But if you like any of the things that I've told you, and if you're looking for a murder mystery that is dark humor but not particularly gory death, like, again, my assumption when I picked up this book was that it was going to be like a serial killer novel where it was a family of serial killers who were all killing people, right? And like all trying to get away with it. And like they kind of all knew that, because I didn't. The back cover copy, especially when you see like everyone in my family has killed someone and then just a list of roles and families, it doesn't give you a lot to go on, right? And so I was expecting this to be a darker, more gory book than it is. I've been pleasantly surprised by how much I'm laughing, and like it is a little bit vivid. There are some moments that are a little bit more graphic, mostly in descriptions of dead bodies. But other than that, like the murders and the deaths have been much more calm than I had anticipated, right? They're a lot more gentle in general. Hello everyone, it's me from the future. And I have additional feedback about this book. because I finished it and I hadn't posted the video yet, so I figured I would come in here and tell you my thoughts now that I've actually finished the whole thing. Yeah, so overall, really, really loved the book. I had to return my paperback copy or my hardcover copy to the library, and then I was going on a work trip, and then I ended up getting it from the library in ebook, and then I read it on the plane the whole flight. And let me tell you, the last time I did that, I don't even know. I don't know how long it's been since I've just, probably since college, since I just read on my flight. So that tells you a little something about this book and a little bit more about how good it truly, truly is. I also wanted to say that those things that I pointed out in the paperback copy, you know, like how the, if you're paying attention, you know we're on like page whatever, because that way you know that there's a death. Yeah, that carried over into the ebook as well. He didn't do page numbers because page numbers in ebooks shift and change depending because of how the format is created. But there's chapters where it's the prologue is saying like, oh, if you're paying attention, we're in chapter 1, which is super interesting. So I was really impressed by how they did that, and the attention to detail that was put into the creation of these books, of that book, and those files. Really cool, really interesting. From a publishing nerd perspective, that was fun in and of itself. From a mystery writing perspective, the characters were so fun in and of themselves. And I really liked too, and this is again spoilers, but you already know that if you're watching this video, I really, really liked how the mystery that was unraveled was not truly the mystery of the person who died. Like it was, but it wasn't really. The mystery in question is what was going on with Ernest's brother, right? That was the mystery in question. The death of who they call Green Boots was just an inciting incident, if you will, that led to the unraveling of the rest of the story. So thematically, I was really impressed. The writing style, I loved so much that I got the next one, or another one, not the next one, it's not a series, but the next one that I can read from the library by Benjamin Stevenson called Trust Me When I Lie. Super excited to dive into this one. No idea what I'm getting into, but the title alone, right? That'll be super fun. It'll be interesting to see how this one compares to Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone. So that's next up on my TBR. I'll probably start it really soon. But overall, highly recommend Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone. I put a post up on my blog talking about the writing style, different potential trigger warnings, etc., in case you're interested in all of that. But I give it across the board 5s. For entertainment value, for writing style, for production grades, and then for just overall quality of the book, it gets 5s across the board. This is one of the best books that I've read in a really long time. So really, really highly recommend. I would say go check it out. I'll put a link to that blog post down in the description so you can see that too. But cool. That's all I really wanted to come in and say. Me from the future still recommends that book. It ended really well. The ending held up. And I had a really good time reading it. So that's all. Cool. Back to past me. Anyway, that is the book that I've been currently reading. Highly, highly, highly recommend this book. Please go check it out. Please go read it. That's all for today. Until next time. I'll see you then. I've been hard at work creating some merch for you guys based off of my channel, based off of things that I've said, etc. So if you're interested in any of that, please go check it out. I've moved my shop from Redbubble to Zazzle, so if you're curious about any of that, go check it out. There's a link down below. Also make sure to go check out my short stories that I've been writing, and check out the rest of the videos on the channel. If you enjoyed this and you want to hear me chat about more books, leave your recommendations for what books I should read down below. And until next time, I will see you then. Bye!